Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our third information session on the topic of spring semester. I'm Christy Tostovan in University Communications, and we're really happy to be with you today to share information on the classroom experience and academics as we know them today. I just, want to acknowledge that, we will continue to solidify plans over the next few weeks, and we'll make adjustments as we need to based on the changing environment and as new information becomes available. So I invite you to join us for future sessions that are already on the calendar in January. Friday, January 8th, and Tuesday, January 12th, we'll have additional town halls on spring semester and provide even more information then. I just also want to remind you that we'll continue communicating like we have been all fall. You'll get regular emails from President Weinberg. You'll get the Friday newsletter that goes to all students and parents. And then you'll get to continue to get information from housing, from the provost office, and from all areas around campus with updates on what's happening in the spring. So this is a start of a conversation. We're going to have a lot more over the next few months. So joining us today is Provost Kim Copeland, Senior Associate Provost for Academic Affairs, Kathy Dollard, Associate Provost for Operations, Planning and Resource Management, Kimberly Specht, and Dean of First Year Students, Mark Muller. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Provost Copeland.
Thanks, Christy. I'd like to start by just talking a little bit about our approach to spring. But before I do that, I want to share my appreciation to everyone for the incredible fall semester that we had. Both students who studied in person on campus and students who studied remotely really demonstrated their commitment during what was an unusual and challenging semester for everyone. I also want to thank you all for the feedback that you provided throughout the semester and via the Pulse survey that we sent out this week. If you haven't yet completed the most recent Pulse survey, please do so. This survey is going to be open until Monday, December 14th at noon. Your input is important as we continue to plan for the spring semester. For the spring, our guiding principle remains the same as it was for the fall, and that is to provide an exceptional academic experience, one that's consistent with what we do at Denison, that centers around the connections and relationships that make the Denison academic experience so invaluable. One of the big lessons we learned from the fall was that creating those connections, those relationships, was often difficult when faculty were trying to teach courses to in-person students and remote students at the same time. Some courses lent themselves really well to that model, and some faculty thrived with that dual mode approach, but it wasn't the same for everyone. And so this heavily influenced our decision to offer faculty the option to choose which mode of instruction works best for them. Kathy Dollard's going to say more about that in a minute. But I do want to note that we are not requiring faculty to teach all courses to both remote and in-person students. So that is a change from the fall to the spring. I'd like to just say a word about the academic calendar for the spring semester. You can find this on the denison.edu site. Classes will start on Monday, February 1st. And as Christy noted, this is our plan as of today to start classes on Monday, February 1st. In-person classes will start in person on that day. And obviously all on-campus students should be moved in and on campus by February 1st. Classes will go through Wednesday, May 12th, which will be the last day of classes, with Thursday, May 13th being the first of the study days. Exams will then happen on May 14th and 15th. We'll have another study day and finish up with exams on May 17th and 18th. Commencement is scheduled for Saturday, May 22nd. And just a word about commencement. We have received questions about commencement, and I completely understand that you'd like to know what commencement is going to look like, but to be just transparent, we don't know exactly what commencement will look like yet. We certainly want it to be as normal as possible, but there are many, many factors involved that will influence the final result, and we will keep you updated as commencement planning progresses. I also want to speak about the importance of a break. This is something that we heard lots of good feedback about the fall semester has made us realize the importance for students and faculty of having a break during the semester. In a normal spring semester, we would usually have a 1-week spring break. We're going to forego that normal 1-week spring break to limit the exposure of students traveling off campus, but we have scheduled break days, which are now in place for Tuesday and Wednesday, March 16th and 17th, and Monday, April 19th. And those days are also on the denison.edu site where you can find the academic calendar. These days are built into the spring semester calendar in place of spring break, but they are designed to give students a respite from the rigors of the normal academic semester. These days will be class-free days, so no classes on these break days, and we're working with faculty to manage expectations around workload to ensure that these break days will truly offer a time of break and rest. I just emailed faculty today asking them to offer students a true break in this normal work that would happen during the week of March 15th to allow a breather for everyone at the midpoint of the semester. It's important to know that we will expect student attendance and participation in class before and after the break days. And our hope is that that Monday break on April 19th will be part of a larger campus spring celebration similar to the weekend of wellness that we had during the fall semester. And so with that about the academic calendar and about the plan for our spring semester break days, I'm going to turn it over to Senior Associate Provost Kathy Dollard, who will talk a little bit about our approach to course formats and instructional modes. Kathy?
Thank you, Kim. As Kim noted, I'm going to focus on what's going to be going on in the classroom in the spring semester. And as you know, in the fall semester, all courses were taught in a hybrid format. That is, as Kim indicated, taught to both in-person and remote students. And we've received feedback throughout the semester that, as Kim said, some faculty really thrived and students thrived in that atmosphere. But in other cases, there were challenges for instructors to manage, and sometimes both remote and in-person students gave us feedback that the intention of really aiming to create equitable experiences for both audiences sometimes hindered the learning experience for one cohort or another. Based on that feedback, in preparing for the spring, we have asked each faculty member to choose the instructional mode that they intend to use for each of their courses. Therefore, all courses are not required to be hybrid in the spring. And again, this means that not all courses will be available to remote students. Our planning for the spring has been governed by the central principle of the strong student interest in having as many courses taught as possible in person. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more specifically about our 4 instructional modes. These instructional modes, we mean the ways in which instructors will teach the course. The instructional mode is indicated both in the registration database for students. You know that attributes section kind of over on the right-hand side, that is in there on the registration database that went live on Wednesday. And the instructional mode will also be noted in the Notebowl site for each course. The first instructional mode is in person. That's pretty straightforward. The course will be taught in person by the designated instructor in a classroom on Denison's campus. Secondly, transitional. The course will begin with virtual instruction, moving to in-person no later than March 1st, depending, of course, on pandemic conditions, as does all of this. But in a transitional course, the instructor intends to begin online and then move to in-person by week 4 of the semester. Mixed mode is the third mode that faculty could choose. And that is the course will be taught in a mixture of formats with a set schedule of set weekly schedule of some days in person and some days remote. This is especially appropriate to courses that need to take place in a specific space like labs or studios, workshops, computer labs, those spaces that are limited in capacity under pandemic distancing conditions. An example of a mixed mode course might be something that meets for 2 class sessions per week in person and virtually for the 3rd session of the week. And finally, the 4th instructional option is fully remote. That means that the instructor themselves will teach the course remotely. Both remote and on-campus students can enroll in remote courses, but the instruction is anticipated to take place virtually for the entirety of the course. And a quick note, as I mentioned, all of these modes are contingent on the pandemic situation. They reflect the intentions of faculty members if the pandemic situation remains predominantly consistent with what we experienced in the fall. I want to focus for a moment on what this means for remote students. We're anticipating at our first count when students gave us feedback that we have approximately 160 remote students who will be enrolled in courses in the spring. While not all classes are available to remote students, they can enroll in all courses that are taught remotely. Remote students also can enroll in any course in the other 3 modes that are being taught synchronously. to remote students in a hybrid format, basically what all courses were like last spring. Between remote courses and those synchronous courses, there are more than enough remote and synchronous seats to accommodate the remote Denison students. In total, about 40% of courses are available to remote students, and those are well distributed across the full curriculum. Remote student registration took place yesterday, and students who have indicated that they plan to be remote for the spring should already be enrolled in courses. And I know that multiple offices have been communicating with students on that front. We anticipate and have already seen that there will be some special circumstances, most likely pertaining to senior students and students meeting specific major requirements, in which a remote student will need a course that is not offered remotely. In those cases, seniors should be in touch with their major departments about those concerns. Our office has made clear to departments that all graduation requirements for seniors must be accommodated, whether the student is remote or in person. The nature of instructional format is not going to hinder anyone in meeting their graduation requirements who's intending to graduate in the spring. And also in terms of major requirements that are very specific, departments have been thinking very carefully about instructional formats for those courses. So if you have questions about these requirements, you should direct them to the major department or program, or to the provost's office or the registrar's office. We will also, just a quick but very important note, we will ensure that students who are remote for short-term periods due to quarantine, isolation, or other exceptional circumstances, in all cases, no matter what the instructional format, those students will be able to continue with their courses, and faculty are aware that those accommodations will be necessary in the spring. As I mentioned, we've been pleased by the distribution of courses across the instructional modes. The numbers are still preliminary, but give a clear picture that there are wide-ranging options for both in-person and remote students. So of our over 500 courses, about 46% are fully in-person. So almost half will be taught in person on Denison's campus. 26% are in mixed mode. 16% are transitional, that anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks virtual, and then moving to in-person instruction by March 1. And 12% are remote instruction, where the faculty member themselves will be remote. Again, of the in-person transition and mixed courses, many are being offered in a synchronous format. And just a reminder that overall, across those modes, 40% of all courses are available to remote students. The last thing I'm going to touch on is questions we've received regarding return to campus and if the first several weeks will be online. Our intent is that for each course, it will begin in the planned format I've described on February 1st. And we anticipate that students who intend to be residential will be on campus by the beginning of classes on February 1st, according to the move-in schedule that the Office of Housing will provide to students. In terms of how this will play out, we anticipate that between 70 and 75% of courses will have in-person instruction from the very beginning of the semester. As noted, 12% are intended to be remote for the entire semester, and the remaining 15-16% of courses are transitional, with the instructional in-person instruction beginning no later than March 1. So in this model, we anticipate that 88% of our courses will feature in-person instruction some or all of the time by the 1st of March, the 4th week of classes. This is our intended approach, and as you have seen, we will adapt as needed, but we feel good about the range of instructional options that we've established. And now I'm going to hand it over to our Dean of First Year Students and Director of Advising, Mark Moeller.
Hi, everyone. So I want to talk a little bit about the registration process. In certain ways, it's really no different than we've done it in previous years, and in other ways, certainly it is slightly different. So first of all, you've already received an email from the registrar's office with all the relevant information about registration. It's important that you find that email and that you keep track of it. It has all the dates. It also has all the resources that are available. It goes over much of the information that is different for the current year. Also, all that information can also be accessed by going to My Denison, go to the registrar's page, and click on class registration. In addition, the registrar's office has been sending reminders out prior to every class registering, and I've also sent out emails for each class as they've come up, and will continue to do so with additional support that we'll be providing. We will have office hours available to work either with me or with the Juneau's student staff to help you build your plans. But also we will also have open Zoom hours where you'll be able to sign up for those and get help in that way. In addition, there is also a video that is on the registrar's webpage that shows you how to build plans and also how to use the database if you're unfamiliar or if you just don't remember how to do that. While many of you have already used this process for registration, I suspect that you may need a few reminders on exactly how to do it in the best possible way to ensure that you're going to be successful once your registration takes place. In the registrar's email was the schedule for course registration, and I just want to review it very quickly just to make sure that you're aware of when your time slot for registration might be. The course schedule for the spring went live on December 9th. It is currently available. If you go to the current, for the spring semester, spring 2021, on the registration database, you'll see that the courses for the spring are available. We just completed remote student registration. That took place from December 10th to December 12th. We registered the remote students first because we wanted to give them the best chance to have the classes that were available to remote students. We've completed that and we're ready now for the seniors to begin. They're going to begin registration on December 14th and they'll complete it on December 16th. For seniors, sophomores, juniors, and first years, the format of registration remains the same. You will complete 2 plans for course registration. The first plan will always be due on the very first day that your window opens up for registration. It'll be due by noon. The second plan will be due on the last day of your sequence, and that'll be due at noon as well. In between, once again, you'll have the opportunity to drop and add classes to your first set of classes. Remember, you register up to 8 credits. And then you'll have the opportunity after the second plan is batched or processed to make any changes up to the end, up to 18 credits. So again, the format is exactly the same. Many of you who have done this before are familiar with it. We'll once again provide any kind of support we can if you have any questions, but seniors will go from December 10th to the 12th. Juniors will go from December 14th to the 16th. Sophomores will go from December, I apologize. Seniors will go from December 14th to the 16th, juniors from the 17th to the 19th, and then sophomores will go from the 5th to the 7th, and first years from the 8th through the 11th. To prepare for course registration, once again, take advantage of all the resources that are available on the registrar's webpage or in that email, or come to one of the help sessions that we'll be providing. Your faculty advisor is also available to you to talk to you about your classes. You feel free to reach out to your faculty advisor using email, and they'll help you think about the courses you want to take, but also help you perhaps with, or certainly with your 4-year academic plan and how the courses for the current semester fit into it. You can always are free to contact the first year office and we will connect you either to me or to one of our Juneau student staff as well to provide you with any additional help. When you go to register, once again, as Professor Dollard has pointed out, right, you can see all of the instructional modes for the classes that is in the database. You can also search for those instructional modes by going to attribute under advanced search. And you can actually search according to whether it's a remote class, whether it's a mixed class, a synchronous class. And that's been extremely useful for the students that I've worked with so far. You do not need a PIN to register for classes this semester. We've waived that to make it a little bit easier for you to have access and not to put another barrier in the way. Once again, regardless, our faculty are prepared to accommodate you if for any reason you were to miss class because you might be ill or you had to take time out in isolation. But we want to emphasize that what will not be an option this year is to switch from on-campus status to remote status like we allowed that in the fall. If you're going to be on campus, you're going to be taking your classes on campus and you're not going to have the opportunity to leave during the middle of the semester to take classes from home. Once registration is completed, the housing office will finalize housing commitments. and that'll happen once registration is completed. At this point, I'm going to turn it over then to Kim Specht, who's going to speak to you about health, the approach to health in the classroom.
Thank you, Mark. So from a health and safety perspective, we're going to continue a lot of what we started in the fall. We will maintain the same rigor around cleaning and disinfecting the classrooms, labs, and meeting spaces. Also, as we did during the fall, classroom capacities will be set based on the 6-foot physical distancing. Since we won't have the outdoor options early in the semester, this means we need to expand the course grid a bit and be creative with spaces on campus. We will, however, plan to return all of the outdoor classrooms and put the tents back up as soon as the weather allows in the spring. But we will be extending the class time. We will start our classes again at 8 a.m. and the daytime classes will go from 8 to 5. We have also added evening classes that will go from 7 to 8:20. So there's a new time slot for class on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday for a 3-day-a-week class from 7 to 7:50, and a 2-day-a-week class on Monday and Wednesday from 7 to 8:20. So you may want to keep an eye out for that. We have a few more evening classes than we would typically have. We still have the block for ensemble and athletic team practices that will be held from 5 to 7 p.m. And we will continue to put 20 minutes of time between classes so that we can decongest the hallways. We have received questions about adjusting the sick day policy to ensure that students do not feel they have to be in class if they are feeling ill. Just want to stress that even in normal times, students should not be attending class if they are feeling ill. Our attendance and absence policies really stress that students should be in good communication with their professors and their advisor when they are sick. So students should just continue to communicate and be in close contact with their faculty teaching their classes. I'm also going to talk to you about our Summer Scholars Program. We received some questions about our summer opportunities. Students should have received an email from the Liska Center and the Anderson Summer Science Programming indicating that we are planning to host a residential Summer Scholars Program for the summer. This is our current plan. This will then allow for students to engage in this collaborative research with faculty members. Right now, we are anticipating that we will run a 10-week program, but that we will host 8 weeks of those classes of the research on campus and finish up the summer with 2 weeks of remote so that we can be well prepared for students to return in the fall. The dates for that program are anticipated to be May 24th through July 27th, where students would leave campus on July 16th. But all of this planning is really dependent on our continued ability to manage COVID-19 in the spring and our expectations that the summer program will be conducted pursuant to guidelines that we will design to maintain the health and safety of participants. Because we want to have a bit of an opportunity to continue to develop some of these plans, we have pushed back the due date for Summer Scholars applications. So Summer Scholars applications will now be due March 1st, and we anticipate informing students of the status of these by April 5th. So hopefully with plenty of time for students to make summer plans. And with that, I will send it back to Christy.
Thank you so much. I just want to really appreciate everyone for joining us. And I want to remind you, in addition to these sessions and of course the emails that you're getting and the direct communication from the university, you can always visit reopen.denison.edu for the latest information. We've updated that website for spring and we'll continue to add a lot of information over the coming weeks. And you can always email reopen@denison.edu with your very specific questions. And also on the Reopen site, there's a phone number you can call as well if you want to talk to someone. And I would be remiss if I let this session end and didn't promote the Winter Accelerator programming that's available to all students. You can find that information on denison.edu and in the many communications that we're sending to you with links to register. There are a lot of great programming from the Knowlton Center, from the Liska Center, from the Red Frame Lab, from the Launch Lab. It's all, and a lot of programming available specifically for international students. So please check it out and register. You don't want to miss it. We look forward to seeing you for these sessions again in January. And in the meantime, expect to receive a lot of communication from us. Have really wonderful holidays, and we'll talk to you soon.